subscribe to the Morals and Money platform right now. If you haven't done it and you're tuned into the live stream, I'm gonna drop it in the comment section below. Matter of fact, we're gonna put this on the banner. We're gonna throw this on the banner. Subscribe to the Morals and Money channel, man. On YouTube. Subscribe to the channel on YouTube, man. Subscribe to Morals and Money on YouTube, because what I got to deliver for y'all, straight up fire. Dope. Every day. Every day. We really doing the research. If you go look at the channel, I got like 30-something videos of content similar to stuff like this. We talking about many different figures from back then. We talking about the mounds, you know, ancient America, the true old world. Information over there from Europe. We getting into the history of the black man for real, where the black man really comes from, where he originated at, how he got here to this point, and that we are where we are today, to where we can only identify with the term black. When you got black Europeans, black Asians, black Tartarians, Genghis Khan was allegedly black. Big drop for y'all. And we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna get into it. But more or less, yeah, brother, yeah, bro. Go subscribe, man. Go subscribe. And I can subscribe to my channel too, man. coppercoloredkingg. They go hand in hand, though. What goes on Morals and Money, I break that down into shorter videos, and I put that on the CCP channel because I want people to see, like, I mean, for those who don't have attention span to attach to things for that long, I got shorter videos up there for y'all. But yeah, Bruce Lee, tap in, bro. Don't subscribe. I see you around a lot when I get on here with MOI. I see you around a lot, so we definitely can talk about it. We can chop it up. We can learn, man. Share some information. But yeah, I continue to mumble rap. So this is from the book, right? The Creeks, the early history of the Creek Indians and their neighbors. So in this section right here, they talk about the ethnological information regarding the Kasubo. In addition to the Kasubo, they're going to talk about Creeks, Cherokees, Choctaws, and Chickasaws. All Muskogees, right? All Muskogees. So let's get into it. What do it say? Ethnological information regarding the Kasubo is scanty and unsatisfactory. Interest of the colonists having been quickly attracted to those great tribes lying inland, which they called nations, right? The English term for what you would call these people are nations or tribes. But at that time, back in the day, there was not an aboriginal person walking the land that would identify themselves as a nation or a tribe. It wasn't around saying, yeah, I'm a Choctaw, I'm a Cherokee, I'm a Chickasaw, well, I'm a Creek. They didn't do stuff like that. These names are exonyms. Pen and pad, y'all. Get y'all pen and pad. These names are exonyms. These are names given to groups of peoples from outside entities, not from within. They didn't develop these names themselves. As a matter of fact, an even bigger drop, these two, Choctaw and Chickasaw, are actually names that belong to people. Let me explain. Let me cook. Chickasaw and Choctaw are two brothers who migrated out of Mexico into America. And they were a part of the tribe of these group of peoples that we know as Choctaws and Chickasaws, or Muskogees. Let's say Muskogees. And as time went on, you know, they introduced themselves to Europeans. Europeans have no other way to characterize them. You know, they end up identifying them as Choctaws and Chickasaws. The only other way they can identify them as. That's it. Because these people, they needed interpreters, first of all, to learn and understand their language. So you could already assume that it was a lot of things being lost and misinterpreted in translation. Right, but what does it say? Right. Nevertheless, it is of interest to know that certain features of the lives of these people were or were not shared by ones better known. The material gathered by the Spaniards as a result of the Albion expedition has given in connection with the account that venture and will not be considered again. The region to which it applies is too uncertain to consider it under this head. From the time of the French settlement in 1562, right? French settled, 20 years after the death of Chief Tuscaloosa, and they were still seeing black people. So it's 20 years after the death of Chief Tuscaloosa, Chief Tuscaloosa died 1540. He died 1540. Chief Tuscaloosa died 1540, right? And 20 years later, 22 years later, they still seeing black people out there. Right? But you're going to tell me that these Siberians were here first, or those are the true Indians, or that's the images that you're going to show, you know, to keep black people distant away from their true history. I get it. You don't want to tell us the truth. Listen, man, and I'm so tight because I just did this video, right? The history of hockey, baseball, lacrosse, and all of that. Bro, Europeans are still your grandmother's underwear if they could. If they could get up in there to book your grandmother for her underwear, they're going to get up in there and steal her underwear. And they're going to steal her 6-month-old toothbrush, too. And they might take her dentures, right? They might take her dentures. No cap. They're still everything, though. They stole our history. They stole it. They rewrote history. They rewrote it so bad that what existed in the 1500s, you can't even find a picture of it now. And that's sad. That's sad. We need those images in our community. We need those images because that Afrocentrism, that out of Africa stuff is not working. Why? Because if you tell me to go back there, I'm going to tell you no. I don't know nobody over there. I'm not from there. I don't speak their language. There's nothing I could connect to other than us sharing a melanated skin complexion. That's it. But when I use discernment and I focus in and I see, right, that I really should be connecting to, you can feel it when you step on the land. I know once I touch my first mound, I'm going to get superpowers. I'm going to get me some mother-loving superpowers. Yeah, that's right. For sure. Right, but weird, what they say. However, we have sufficiently clear localization from the French, Spanish, and English narrative successful. Clear localization from all three of these badman, bati fishes, all three of them. Right, the greater part of our information comes, however, from the French and English. The Spaniards not having been interested in the people among whom they came, or not having published those papers which contained accounts of them. Yes, they do. They got some. They definitely do got some, and we're going to talk about it. The following general descriptions of the appearance of the natives and their mental and moral characteristics is from Alexander Hewitt. It does not apply to the Kosubo alone, but Hewitt was probably better acquainted with them than any other Indian. All right, so we got a brother named Alexander Hewitt. In addition to H.B. Cushman, right? And the dude who was around when DeSoto was around, I forgot he had a Spanish name. No, he had a Spanish name, and he was the last man standing from the Narvaez expedition. So you had a brother by the last name of Narvaez. Maybe I can help you in the comment section. If y'all have an idea on who that is, somebody Google it for me. Google it for me and put in the comment section who was the Narvaez brother that came to America for Hernan DeSoto. Because when DeSoto got here and he was on the land, he ended up stumbling upon this dude who was on that land for at least 3 years prior. And he was a remnant. He was one of the remnants of the Narvaez expedition. He needed him as an interpreter. This Narvaez dude lived with the Indians for some time, and they said he even blended in due to the color of his skin. So what does that tell us about DeSoto and his homeboys? They were copper colored as well. Yeah, big facts. Well, we don't know. He could have been, right? According to Columbus, if Columbo was black, then he definitely was too. In stature, they are of a middle size, neither so tall yet so low as some Europeans. Look, they just said this too in DeSoto joint, right? They are a little bit taller than Europeans, a little bit taller, just a little bit, but they are similar. Body types are similar, right? And there's a reason for that. Their appearance, they are strong and well made, yet they are totally unqualified for that heavy burden or tedious labor which the vigorous and firm nerves of Europeans enable them to undergo. None of them are deformed. Deformities of nature being confined to the ages of art and refinement. Their color is brown. Their skin shines, being varnished with bare fat and paint. The only thing that stood out on this part to me was that they said they have no beards and no hair. I went and Googled and learned myself that they will cut their hair. See, look, it being customary among them to tear out such hair by the root. They grew hair. They grew it. It's not like they didn't grow it. They grew hair, but they cut it off. You know, they shaved the beard, like cut the hair to where it's evened out. You know, they were experts and stuff like that already. They were their own stylists and stuff like that. Next time you go get your hair done by your stylist, that's for the ladies, right? If she's a Black American, African American, just pay attention to how she style your hair. And then you go watch you a video, right? I'll actually drop the video in the description of how these people used to treat their hair. Watch that video and then compare it to the stylist, right? It's a lot of similarities. People won't know that though. People will not know that. You know, that's like like one of those things that's like, oh, new discovery. They not gonna know. They just not gonna know. But more or less though, man, I want to move forward. Let's continue. Let's do the damn thing. I want to continue, right? So the next thing that I want to bring to y'all, right, comes from the book of the Choctaw, Chickasaw, and Natchez, the history of these groups of peoples. It comes from the book of the history of these groups of peoples, right? We're going to go over it. And real quick, man, I just want to appreciate y'all. Like, we got this live jumping right now. I ain't even going to front. We got this live jumping right now. Personally, Panfilio de Narvaez. It could be. Hold on, let me see. Panfilio de Narvaez, a Spanish conquistador and soldier in the Americas. Born in Spain, he first sailed to the island of Jamaica, then Santiago in 1510. Then Santiago in 1510. Hold up, I gotta show this to y'all. Let's take a look at this right here. All right, because Bruce Lee, he just gave us a big drop. What else? What else can we go at, right? What else can we look at? He just gave us some fire. So we got Panfilio de Narvaez. Assuming that's how you pronounce his name. I really don't care to butcher these niggas' names. I'm not gonna lie. I'll butcher them with my bare hands if I really could, right? Because what they did was they took away that opportunity to see what that culture was like. I be fasting. I'm heavy in the green corn ceremony. I'm heavy when it comes to the fermentation process of fruits. I literally got to go to a farmer's market, or I'll go a little upstate to a farm to get some of the things that I would consume for myself. Is that real? Because I'm trying to stay connected to my ancestral roots. So I'll butcher this nigga with my bare hands. I ain't gonna lie. Yeah. He was born in Spain, first sailed to the island of Jamaica. He participated in the conquest of Cuba and then led an expedition to Camagüey, escorting Bartolomé de las Casas. He is best remembered as the leader of two failed expeditions, right? The first of which began in 1519 and ended in 1520 after defeat and capture in battle against Hernan Cortez. These niggas fighting each other. Whitewash photo, by the way. Whitewash photo. You know what? What stands out to me so much, and it's so funny though, because it's like these mother lovers that give us wild pictures of these ancient people, and they all look alike. How you draw the same nigga 50 million different times? That's crazy, bro. And none of us ever stop to like ask that question, like, yo, why all these pictures of these niggas all look the same? Why they all look the same? Right? They all look the same. This one right here, he could have been a swarthy man, right? This is a nice sketch right here. I'm not even gonna lie, because there's a lot that we can tell from the sketch. But yeah, so what we got? His second expedition, the Narvaez expedition began in 1527 and ended for him with his death the following year. Only 4 men returned from it, reaching present-day Mexico City in 1536. He was named Adelantado by Carlos V before embarking on that final expedition. So yes, this is the man. This is the man. Narvaez. So this is who came before to Americas before Hernan DeSoto. Right? This is who he was. And he died 20 years before the good, great chief Tuscaloosa. He died 20 years before. These timestamps is sticking in my head now, man. They sticking in my head because I can't forget. Why would I forget? Look, we got to look at these timestamps, right? 1540, Chief Tuscaloosa died. Narvaez, he died 1528. 28 years before Tuscaloosa himself died. Wow. I mean, even when this Narvaez dude made it here to the Americas, it was smoke with Tuscaloosa too. It was smoke with Tuscaloosa too, but he died before he could even see Tuscaloosa meet his demise. I'm pretty sure, like the hating ass niggas that they are, that was something that he wasn't satisfied with. Well, he knocked him in the dirt. And it'd be like that. You know, it'd be like that. But we're going to continue with the story, though. I don't want to sidetrack too much, though, like I said. So, now that we came across that, you know, we got an understanding of this situation right here. We are going to go into the history of the Choctaw, Chickasaw, and Natchez. Right, in this book, they give us a story, the story of Tuscaloosa, right? What happened at Mobila, Alabama, what happened, how they burned the village down and massacred all of the inhabitants of the village. And Tuscaloosa, you know, prior to that event, he wasn't with them. Like, he really wanted them to beat it. And because they felt so threatened, the colonizers felt so threatened, they felt that it was in their best interest to attack them. In that same event, in that same token, Tuscaloosa was planning on getting his get back. He was planning on getting his get back. So the Choctaws were first made known to the European world by the journalist of that memorable adventurer, Hernando DeSoto, who invaded their territory October 1540 and introduced the so-called race of mankind to the Choctaws and following manual. So 1540, the year he invaded their territory, is the same year Tuscaloosa met his demise. So upon meeting this, he didn't even get a year in after meeting this nigga. He got packed up. You gotta watch these niggas, bro. Like, they are really conniving, dirty. Like they opened up arms to them, to the Spaniards, and Tuscaloosa knew something wasn't right. He knew something wasn't right. They opened up their arms to these niggas. And all they did was spoil the crops, rape the women, kill the children, sick dogs on them. They were sicking hounds on them, right? And these niggas is so savage that when they ain't have nothing to eat, and I ain't talking about the aborigines, because you know they lived off the land. These Europeans, because they didn't understand the land, when they didn't have nothing to eat, they ate them damn dogs. Dirty mother lovers. That's what I mean. That's what I'm talking about. They ate the dogs. They ate the dogs. Yeah. They was eating them dogs. Yeah. Drop a copper colored in the comment section, man. Let's do it. That's what I like to see. They ate them dogs. Savages. Yes, bro. Look. We're going to get into it. One of the things that I'm going to do on the channel, right, is I'm going to bring that entire voyage of Hernan DeSoto. I'm going to bring that to the live stream. And we're going to talk about it. Because we're going to see a lot, you know, with the sun and moon worship, with those dudes, you know, a lot of the Temucas, a lot of the boat fights, or let's just say the Navy fleet wars that were happening in the Gulf of Mexico, right? You dive in the Gulf of Mexico today, you probably find Blackjack's treasure. What's his name? Blackbeard. You probably find this treasure. Because they was really smoking shit in the Gulf of Mexico. I'm not even gonna lie. So many different naval battles that happened in that specific body of water. Mad relics at the bottom of the Gulf. At the bottom, even stuff that was taken from the land as an event of the hurricanes that happened over time and a potential earthquake that happened in Louisiana. A lot of that stuff that was on the land found its way into the water. So the water of the Gulf of Mexico, they got a lot. It's a lot in there. But yeah, so back to the book. I feel like I keep getting track. We're gonna continue, and I'm gonna just do this without stopping. So yeah, a manly young Indian of splendid proportions and with a face extremely attractive and interesting visited DeSoto after he had left Tallahassee. He was the son of Tuscaloosa, corruption of the Choctaw words Tushka, warrior, Lusa, black, a renowned chief whose territories extended to the distant Tom Bigby in the west. So the person we're talking about in this one is the son of Tuscaloosa. I was reading and taking notes, and I didn't even eat that. Oh, that's crazy. All right, so look, that means the son was black too, by the way. Tom Bigby is a corruption of the Choctaw word Itomi B box, Iggy maker, box maker, a name given to the white man. It is said who, at an early day, settled on the banks of the river and made boxes for the Choctaws, and which were placed in the bones of their dead, which will be particularly noticed elsewhere. The young warrior bore an invitation from his father to DeSoto to visit him at his capital. The next day, DeSoto advanced into within 6 miles of where the great chief awaited him, made a halt, and sent Luis de Masaco with 15 horsemen to inform Tuscaloosa of his near approach. Masaco and his troops soon appeared before Tuscaloosa, who was seated upon an eminence commanding a broad and a delightful view. Yeah, he basically what they saying, right? If we take this imagery, right, that the author is using, and we just break it down, he was sitting on the high chair, the high seat, you know, like the highest in the room, like the big dog chair. He was sitting in the big dog chair. They said that these people have no type of sophisticated culture. Then what do you call that? What do you call that? Like reading it, when I read that, I'm looking at it as like, all right, when you watch Emperor's New Groove in Cusco, the show from the movie from Disney, how son was sitting on his old chair at the top of the mountain or the top of his temple or whatever the case may be. This is basically stating that he was seated upon the eminence commanding a broad and delightful view. He was seated above everybody else. He was the big dog. And they had a sophisticated style of culture. Not a hierarchy. He was just the one that led his people. Like the medicine man. You know, everybody had a specific role in these ancient civilizations. It wasn't no president, secretary of state, none of that. Account, a freaking man, none of that. It was none of that. These people lived different and united. It was based off of unity, right? It says, when DeSoto arrived, Tuscaloosa arose and advanced to meet him with a proud and haughty air and said, "Great chief, I receive you as my brother and welcome you to my country. I'm ready to comply with your requests." Right? Who he thought he was? This nigga thought he was deceiving Black Warrior? Yeah, all right, because watch how Black Warrior started moving after several encounters with these milk. Right? Let's check it out. After a few preliminaries, in company with Tuscaloosa and his followers, DeSoto took up his line of march for Mobile, Alabama, the capital of the mighty chief. Yeah, Mobile, Alabama is one of those cities that was built on a megatropolis. That's what you would call it, a megatropolis. I think a big city, just like Memphis, just like Louisiana, Chicago, places in Ohio, big cities, Kentucky, St. Louis, big cities, right? So, yeah, he was the chief of this big popping ass city that pretty much kept it together for the entirety of the people. He was the big chief, the big dog, right? They relied on him. Not they relied on him, they relied on each other, but he led them. Right? So let's continue. On the third day of their march from Piachi, a corruption of the Choctaw word Piachi, to care for us, they passed through many populous towns, well stored with corn, beans, and other provisions. Well stored. They had an abundance of food. You know, corn, maize, that was the cream of the crop for these people. You could make anything with maize. Anything. These people could make anything with corn. Anything. Word. The healthy bread. Right? You ain't never eat a bread like the bread they made from back in the day. These whole wheat loaves of bread, read the ingredients on it. Right? Nothing like this fresh corn baked bread. Right? Basically like sourdough, for those who don't know. Right? And I only know this because I'm like heavy with the conscious community. Like, I'm telling y'all, like, I take that shit serious. Like, bro, I didn't watch too many of my family members, especially with this aboriginal ancestry, go out to stuff like alcohol and obesity and all of that. Our people didn't live like that. That's another thing. Upon removing our culture from us, you introduce this new way of living that actually just kills our way of living, right? The new way of living kills the way of living, but the old way of living brings us to life. And it's crazy, bro. It's really crazy to think about it, because sometimes I'll be sitting there asking myself, right? I'll be like, what the hell? How did we come so far, right? Like, first they telling us our grandparents can't be aborigines, because the true aborigines are these niggas, right? And then you telling us it's okay to eat McDonald's. And I say that this is my ancestor, it's a lot. But then in the books you saying my ancestors over here is the same color as the ancestors, the people from over there. You know, it's just a whole bunch of stuff going around, right? For the person who won't be able to focus their brain up and look at it from this perspective, they won't be able to see it through. They will not be able to see it through. Yeah, let's continue, bro. I'm chatting, man. Let's continue. All right, so on the fourth morning, DeSoto with 100 cavalry and as many infantry made a forced march with Tuscaloosa in the direction of Mobila, leaving Moscow to bring up the rear. At 8 o'clock the same morning, October 18, 1540, DeSoto and Tuscaloosa reached the capital. It stood by the side of a large river upon a beautiful plain and consisted of 80 handsome houses, each large enough to contain 1,000 men. DeSoto, they went to the capital. They stood on the side of the river and they saw 80 handsome houses, each large enough to contain 1,000 men. In the jets, y'all. And I could say in one project building alone, in my project, it's probably not 1,000 people in one project building alone. So when you go into the projects here in New York City and you look at these project buildings, you be like, damn, they big, right? You got a house large enough to contain 1,000 men? That's pretty big. So you telling me that they lived in teepees? If a teepee couldn't fit 1,000 niggas, then sign me up. I want to buy one right now because it'll be cheaper than paying rent. I bet you that much. It'll be cheaper than paying rent. Sign me up. Put me in a teepee. I want a teepee right now. If it could fit, if it could fit 1,000 niggas, I want to buy a teepee. And then I'm gonna go buy me some land and live in the teepee on the land. 1,000 niggas in one house, bro. That's crazy, right? But look, they said it right here, right? And all fronting a large public square. God says in his book styled Our Wild Indians that the aboriginal inhabitants of the North American continent, the aboriginal inhabitants, not Native Americans, have never at any time exceeded 500,000 souls, right? Yet, however, According to DeSoto's journalists who were with him in his memorable raid, Mobila alone consisted of 80 handsome houses, each large enough to contain 1,000 men. And if each house contained several families consisting of men with 2 or 3 wives and children of all ages and sexes, occupied for all purposes of one single lodge of 12 or 15 feet, right? One lodge, 12 or 15 feet in diameter, what must have been the number of the inhabitants in Mobila with 80 handsome houses, each large enough to contain 1,000 men, with 2, 3, or more wives, right? Because they believed in polygamy, and children occupying for all purposes. A space only 12 or 15 feet in diameter, right? And he says, the reader can make the calculations at his own leisure. Say what you want about it, right? However, it seems Mobila alone contained over half the number of souls that Dodge allows for the entire continent, right? Dodge said it couldn't exceed over 500,000 souls. No, but what the houses and the land layout, the landscape is telling us that it can exceed way more than that. Over way more than half the number, way more than that. Right? Because these houses were huge, bro. They were not TPs, right? They were not TPs, right? Let's just look at a TP, bro. Because they really be like pulling my feathers with this one. You telling me one of these things right here could fit 1,000 niggas? If one of these, that's why I say, if this could fit 1,000 niggas, sign me up, bro. Like, where do I get my heat and water from? Right? And I want to set up some air conditioning too. And I want a parking spot because I'm getting it for the low. Right? And I'm moving my entire family inside that bad boy. And we won't ever have to struggle ever again. No more project living. We out to the TP. We are out to the TP. They said though. They say these people lived in teepees and houses made out of sticks and stones. But over 500,000 inhabitants? Over 500,000? That's big, bro. That's a lot of space. That's a whole lot of space, right? And look, and this goes back to the conversation Minister Chief and I was having yesterday. One of the brothers said that, you know, our people built the Great Wall of China. Well, right? Our people were experts at building walls already. A high wall surrounded the town, made of immense trunks of trees, close together and deep in the ground, and made strong with heavy cross timbers interwoven with large vines. They did this to stop invaders. These tribes went to war with other peoples that was living on the American mainland. And you had wild different types of people living here in America. Mad different types of people. And these tribes, these peoples, Tuscaloosa and his homies, people like Osceola, Tuskegee, and Monthala, they were warring with these dwarfs and giants and flesh eaters and shit like that, right? Let's continue though. A thick mud plaster resembling handsome masonry concealed the woodwork, while portholes were abundant, together with towers capable of holding 8 men each at the distance of 15 paces apart. So they had like a ceramic style plastering placed on the heavy cross timbers that was woven with large vines. It's like putting sheetrock up in drywall on an insulated building. Yeah, we handy dandy on this side, right? You got a building, you got your wooden pillars or whatever the case may be. The wooden pillars, you nailing them together, and then that's the foundation. You put your insulation, all of the insulation and the padding and everything, and you start putting up the sheetrock. The sheetrock and the drywall could be compared to the thick mud plaster. So the style of building homes has been the same ever since the 1500s. These niggas wasn't living in no teepees. They was building cribs the same way construction workers would build cribs. Today. So, We really got to think about it, bro. We got to think about it, right? When we talking about the ancient and our ancestors and these aboriginal peoples, how primitive were they really? Or would they just overly advanced? How light-skinned and white were they? Were they really black warriors? We got to think about it. Well, we see from the documented proof, they were black warriors. We see that in the documented proof, right? And we see also they weren't as primitive as you may thought them to be. People were highly advanced, highly skilled, smart, very nurturing to their community too. Man, like when I read, I paint pictures. So, lighted from their horses and were given seats under a canopy of statue. Having remained seated for a short time, Tuscaloosa now requested that he should no longer be held as a hostage, to which DeSoto, given no heed. The indignant chief at once arose and walked off with an independent attitude to where a group of his warriors stood. DeSoto had scarcely recovered from his surprise at the independent conduct of Tuscaloosa, when Jean Ortez followed the chief and stated that breakfast awaited him at DeSoto's table. But he refused to return and added, "If your chief know what's best for him, he will immediately take his troops out of my territory." What? I told y'all he wasn't with that. He was not with that. Bro was like, yo, get him out of here. Black chief ready to set it off. Leave. If he know what's good for him, dip. Right now. Before I send my savages on your ass. Unfortunately, you know, it didn't turn out the way you would want it to, but it just was a strong display of the courage that these people live their daily lives with. To move like that, and you see the type of firepower these niggas working with. They don't got guns and stuff yet, at least not that I knew of. But the type of swords, the tall, shiny ass, sharp ass swords, the metal plates, the metal armor, and Tuscaloosa looked at it. Yeah, I'll clip you, nigga, straight up, just like that. And he told him, "Get off my land. Get off of my land." All right, let's continue. What we got? Yeah, they prepared for an attack, right? Soto and his homeboys prepared for an attack. Then hope to prevent an attack so he can again get possession of the chief. DeSoto advanced towards him with assumed smiles and words of friendship. But Tuscaloosa scornfully turned his back upon him and was soon hidden among the multitude of now highly excited warriors. Yeah, they was ready, like, yeah, let's do this. Just then a warrior rushed out of a house, denouncing the Spaniards as robbers and murderers, and declared that they should no longer impose on their chief by holding him as a prisoner. His words so enraged Baltasar Galactus that he cut the warrior in twain with one sweep of his cutlass, of his sword, his cutlass. Cutlass, right? I'll show y'all the type of swords, I ain't gonna lie, these niggas was out here rolling around with. They was out here with cutlass swords, and I ain't gonna lie, those are some sharp swords, right? These cutlass swords. They was out here rolling around with these cutlass swords. Cutlass, that's what it was, a cutlass. Right? Chopped his head off with the cutlass. Chopped it clean off. Right? He cut the warrior in twain with one sweep of his sword. At the sight of this slain warrior, the Choctaws, with their defiant war whoop, at once rushed upon DeSoto and his men. DeSoto placed himself at the head of his men, fighting and retreating. Slowly made his way out of the town into the plain, and continued to retreat until he had reached a considerable distance upon the plain. They pushed the Spaniards back out of Alabama, Mobila. They pushed them out of the town. They pushed them out. Right? They fought so hard that they was able to repel the Spaniards out of the town. Right? This fight lasted for a couple of days, though. Let's check it out. In the meantime, the troopers rushed to secure their horses, which had been tied outside of the walls. The Choctaws at once knocked the chains from the hands and feet of the Indian prisoners, whom DeSoto had brought with him, giving them weapons, bade them help destroy the perfidious strangers, right? The Choctaws knocked the chains from the ones that they kept as slaves, freed them, gave them weapons and was like, yeah, let's do it. Let's get in this, right? And in that first rush, the Choctaws killed 5 of the Spaniards who had been left outside of the walls and were probably exulting over their seeming good fortune and dense masses before the gate. At that moment, DeSoto with his cavalry, closely followed by his entry, made a fearful charge upon the disordered mass of Choctaws, who were still on the outside of the enclosures. The terrible slaughter drove them back to the town, pushed them right back in. So this fight was like a back and forth. It was going back and forth like a argument. For real, they was arguing like a couple. That's what the fight was like. And it lasted an extremely long time. And many people died, right? And there's a lot of memorabilia that was over there, even in the mounds. And you can find a lot of that stuff in the museums now. They just tell you where it came from. Immediately, the Choctaws rushed towards to the portholes and towers and hurled clouds of arrows and spears upon the Spaniards, and again drove them from the walls. Seeing the Spaniards again retreat again, the Choctaws rushed to the gate and fearlessly attacked the Spaniards, fighting them hand to hand and face to face. Hand in hand and face to face. Up in front, brave, courageous warriors, not scared of nothing. Not scared of nothing. And this is the type of stuff that we come from. That type of courage, right? That belief in themselves. And these people lived close with the Great Spirit. They walked with the blessings of the Great Spirit all the time. So off the rip, they always believed that at some point they were being protected by Almighty power. Almighty entity, right? That sword. Oh wait, what is it? 3 long hours did the battle rage, and it lasted longer than that. The Spaniards now retreating in the Choctaws. Like a spectator, DeSoto seemed everywhere, moving down right and left, as if his arm had never tired. That sword, which had been so often stained with the blood of the South American, was now red with that of the North American. Still braver race. Ooh, big drop. They saying we braver. Above the mighty din was heard the voice of Tuscaloosa encouraging his warriors. His tomahawk wielded by his muscular arm ascended and descended in rapid strokes like a meteor across the starry sky. Big drop. Big drop. Because they saying, right? They saying Chief Tuscaloosa was basically an expert with the sword. I mean, with the tomahawk. An expert with the tomahawk, which means he was a skilled fighter, a very, very skilled fighter. And then here again, we have the author using imagery to describe the scenario. Just keep iterating that this man's arms is muscular. That's how I know these niggas are freaky thugs, bro. Freaky thugs. I rock with you, Cushman. You told the truth in this one. But you European dudes, y'all niggas freaky thugs, bro. The way y'all just mesmerizing over the muscular body type of these men is crazy, bro. I ain't gonna lie. That's crazy. Right? But then it says, but could the feeble bow and arrow and the tomahawk avail against the huge lance and cutlass? What the unprotected body of the Choctaw warrior against the steel-clad body of the Spanish soldier? And at length, the Choctaws were forced to make a permanent retreat within the enclosure of their town, closing the gates after them. And at the same time, the Spaniards made a desperate charge against the gates and walls, but were met with showers of arrows and other missiles. But the infantry, protected by their hucklers, soon hewed the gates to pieces with their battle axes and rushed into the town, while the cavalry remained on the outside to cut to pieces all who might attempt to escape. Then began the carnage too awful to relate. The Spaniards ended up destroying the town. The Choctaws fought the street and the square from the housetop and walls and through the ground. Was covered with and though the ground was covered with their dead and dying relatives and friends, still no living one entreated for water. Hotter and hotter and more bloody waxed the desperate conflict. Often the Choctaws drove the Spaniards out of the town, but to see them return again with demonic fury, they just kept bouncing back stronger than the last time, but eventually, you know, it's only but so much you could do, especially with the way these folks was put. It was heavy on it, and they wanted to take the town of Mobila because of all the luxurious things that they had within the town. You had pearls, gold, abundance of corn, food, these homes, the horses, you know, the animals, livestock, the agriculture. It was abundant. And in order for the Spaniards to establish themselves here in America, they needed that. They needed that. And they was going to do whatever they had to do to get it. But let's continue. At length, the houses were set on fire, and wind blew the smoke and flames in all directions, adding more horror to the scene. Horror. The flames ascended in mighty volumes. The din of strife began to grow fainter. The sun wheeled down, seemingly to rejoice and from the sickening scene. Then all was hushed. Mobila was in ruins, and her people slain. For 9 long hours, the battle had raged. 82 Spaniards were killed and 45 horsemen. At last, poor Choctaws who participated in the fight, all were nearly slain. And Tuscaloosa, right? Tuscaloosa lost his life in this fight as well. But had he not went down, there would have been no such thing as a Spanish establishment in North America. Promise that. Promise that. We would have not seen the first colony in the Americas until the 1700s. Promise that. Check this out. I challenge history to show a nation whose people ever displayed a more heroic courage in defense of their country and homes than did Tuscaloosa and his brave people in defending their town, Mamabina, Alabama. Alabama, bruh. They put on for their town, though. This man, Chief Tuscaloosa, bro, a notable figure in our history. If we get the chance to even just learn about the man's history, right, or learn about this history from a truth perspective, this will change the direction that our young people are going in, because they have more realistic hero to look up to. This man is a superhero. Chief Tuscaloosa is a superhero. If we want to talk about it in that sense, the man is a superhero, right? He did what he had to do to protect his people. And though they lost their land, right, they still made it count. They still made it count. I wouldn't want to go down without a fight either. I need to fight. I'm a fighting man. I like to fight. I fight for what's right. You understand? Let's go into this other book I got for y'all. Right? And I'm going to save this one for the next stream because we got to add a part 2 to this. Right? But just to make it brief, this is the history of the city of Tuscaloosa. The origins of his name, right? And you already know they got into the story of Chief Tuscaloosa, the cacique, the big dog Tuscaloosa. And like I said, 2 books tell the same story, but it's kind of different on both sides. So just to bring the first page of the story to y'all, we're going to go over it. That being page 18, 15, 16, 17, 18, right here. They talk about it, right? While at Chahia, DeSoto was informed that there were metals of a yellow color to be found at 30 miles to the northward, but that the country was so broken and mountainous that horsemen could not travel through it. Yellow color. There was metals of yellow color. That there was gold. There was gold in Alabama, in Mobila. That was one of his reasons of wanting to come, and take over the city, right? And another thing I want to pay attention to in this book too. In this book, they saying the natives or the aborigines, instead of calling those people the Cherokees, they called them the Chelokes. And they were the ancestors of some modern Cherokees. These modern Cherokees being Siberians. So who are these Chelokes? I told y'all, these tribal names are all exonyms that were given They gave these names, but what's the Cherokee? Something else to look up. Yeah, look, July 2nd, 1540, DeSoto entered Alabama and arrived at the village of Acosta. Right, he was met by a cacique with 1,500 warriors, telling the story. I want to save this one, right, for another live stream, because this one goes more into depth, talks about the history of Tuscaloosa, where the city gets its name from, like I said, and it's going to give us a lot more information now to help us put a lot of this stuff right here into perspective. Every time you get new information, you're supposed to make new correlations. Go out there and find more things to connect this research to.